Well, it's a little bit over a year now that the president reestablished diplomatic relations with Cuba. I've always thought that that was not a particularly significant event because if you look up the definition of diplomatic relations, it means one country has diplomats in the other country. We've had that since 1977. I was there for 3 years, and I talked with the Cuban government about all kinds of issues, basically the same issues we're talking about today.
Now the hardliners are going to say, look, remember China, we're going to have to shoot these guys.
With all of the crises around the world, why this great interest now in Cuba, which is insignificant, it's not a strategic country for us. A few more years, and by not acting, the regime would have had to make some real changes, I think. And anyway, they're going to die before too much longer. They're 89 and 86, the two leaders. So why the rush? It's because the president wants a legacy.
Food's terrible. The service is awful.
I think as part of his, romanticism, he probably, he loves to apologize around the world for America. I think this is his way of apologizing to the Cuban regime for not engaging with them all these years.
Well, we had the embargo the first time because they confiscated.
It's the policy that doesn't work. It hasn't worked. My view is that no policy will work while the Castros are alive. I've always said the only solution is the biological solution. When they're dead,
Since we're not as much as people have been saying.
do we see any more gestures out of the Latin Americans supporting human rights in Cuba? No, none. In fact, what it's done now is that it's convinced the Europeans that they better get in while they can because the Americans might be coming. And so they've normalized now with Cuba without any reciprocity. So basically we've set an example. We will give everything to the Cuban regime with no reciprocity and nothing in return. And so the idea that somehow Latin American governments will like us more because we have established relations with Cuba, that's stupid. That's ridiculous.
We're going to decide from now on. Now, he may have.
He needs to be able to speak to the Cuban people, calling for free elections, calling for a more liberal economic system which will bring prosperity because communism has never done anything good for anybody. And he needs to challenge the regime. If you want to move forward with us in normalization, you got to do this. And they have to allow him to say it, and it has to be broadcast to the Cuban people. Then something good may come out of this. But if it's done in private, it's a waste.
He says, Mr. President, and we gave these out to all over the island, but